Okay, everyone, good evening and welcome. It's so good to see so many of you here. My name is Brian Cofrancesco. I'm the Leadership Development Coordinator for the New England and Bermuda District and a very proud member of the Kiwanis Club of Meriden, Connecticut. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's session. There is no strength without struggle. And it's great to see such a strong turnout both here in Zoom, but also on Facebook where we have folks turning in. So welcome. This is the 17th session in our virtual workshop series, and we hope you're enjoying them so far. And if this is your first time coming, we appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to encourage your fellow club members to join us as well. We're here every Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. on Zoom. If any of your members are not receiving our emails, and we want to make sure everyone in the district has access to the information about our workshops, please drop us a line at the membership committee and we will take a look to make sure. I'm all dropping the email address for us as well as the link to register for April sessions right in the chat. A reminder that all of our workshops do have the potential to count as interclubs on your monthly secretary's report. So if your club has enough members attending this workshop, you get to report an interclub with each individual club in attendance tonight. So help everyone determine the number of interclubs they can claim by posting in the chat your name and your club. And if your club is eligible for interclub credit tonight, you can do one of three things. One, you can write down the names of the clubs who are here tonight. Two, you can click the ... next to the chat and save the chat. And after the Zoom meeting is done, a window will pop up with the transcript and you can copy all the club names down. Or three, you can visit our Google Drive of resources for a list of clubs that are represented at each of our workshops. And that is expertly compiled by David Griffin, who's our Education Committee's Interclub Liaison and takes very careful attendance each week. You can find a link to that folder in your confirmation email, or I'll drop it in the chat later on tonight. Before we start on tonight's workshop, a few housekeeping items. Please mute yourself to ensure we have an uninterrupted presentation tonight. If you are new to Zoom, the mute button is in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And if you see a line going through the microphone icon, that indicates that you are muted. You are welcome to keep your camera on. We love seeing each other's faces and to kind of give the feel like we're in person tonight, but you are also welcome to turn off your camera if you're more comfortable. If you have questions for tonight's presenters, please post them right in the chat, either to the entire group or you can direct message them to me. If you're watching live on Facebook tonight, you can post your questions in the live stream and we'll grab those for our Q&A at the end. Tonight's workshop will be about 1 hour and you will be able to find recordings on our Facebook page as well as on our YouTube channel. So with that, I think we're ready to get started. We are very lucky to have two outstanding presenters with us tonight, both of whom are from outside of New England and Bermuda. And tonight they're presenting There is No Strength Without Struggle. No Strength Without Struggle. First, we have Jim Janosik from the Kiwanis Club of Worthington-Linworth in the Ohio District. Jim is our club strengthening advisor for USA Region 1. And those of you who joined us for Kiwanis Trivia back in February may have met Jim during our workshop that night. Co-presenting the session is Emily Sharp, who works for Kiwanis International in Indianapolis, Indiana, as our Northeast Region Area Director. And those of you who attended our last in-person conference way back in November 2019, Fall Conference in North Conway, you may have crossed paths or spoken with Emily there. Jim and Emily are here tonight to discuss what it takes to be a strong Kiwanis Club and to share ideas and resources for building that strength together. I especially love that we can highlight not one, but two perspectives from outside of our district, and that these two Kiwanis leaders can talk about successful strategies they've seen in coaching clubs all across our region. So you're in for a treat tonight. Hope you pick up some tidbits that you can take back to your club. And with that, please join me in a round of applause for our two presenters, Jim Janosik and Emily Sharp.
All right, I have unmuted myself. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Sharp. I'm so happy to be here. It is so nice to see so many familiar faces and some new faces as well. I am lucky enough that I get to work with Jim, and he is so great in so many ways. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim for him to get started as I work on sharing the screen. Jim, will you just give me a nod if you can see what you're supposed to be seeing on the screen right now?
I can see it.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Emily. I appreciate it. And thanks for co-presenting with me tonight. And Emily's actually going to share the presentation. So I'm just going to give her a little nod or thumbs up or tell her to go to the next slide when we're ready to do that. So I'm happy to be here with the New England Bermuda District. Thank you, Brian, for setting this up and inviting us to come and share with your district tonight. So you might have been thinking, why the title? Why the title of There Is No Strength Without Struggle? So we're going to talk a little bit about club strengthening tonight and kind of what that means. And a lot of it's fitness related. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'm going to have you guys put into the chat some of your answers, and I'll see them pop up on my screen too, and maybe share a few of them on air. So it's a little interactive tonight. So don't be afraid to use the chat feature. So there is no strength without struggle. Well, what does that mean exactly? So let's go to the next slide. And this is a great quote. It says, strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. It's also the old adage of that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right, Emily? Mm-hmm. Yep. So we can go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk about what is club strengthening, what is the process and the science behind it, and then what does a strong club look like? And we're going to have some interaction there. And then we're going to look at some best practices to fundraising, meetings, recruiting, service, and engagement. And then we're going to wrap it up with some resources to get you going. And all of this will be available for you and your clubs to share afterwards as well. So let's start with what is club strengthening. Primarily, club strengthening addresses areas of concern that it uncovers opportunities for improvement within a club. It also is not just about membership. It's about a whole host of other things too. And at its core, club strengthening is really a continuous improvement process. Just like you work out your mind, your body, your spirit, your faith, it's continual development. So we need to really keep that in mind as we talk about this tonight. The first part we're going to talk about is the process. Is that right? No, we're going to go to the motivation part first. And this is Emily. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Emily.
Absolutely. So as Jim and I were thinking about what do we want this to look like, we can talk a lot about club strengthening, but if you don't know the science behind it, we really think you're not starting off on the right foot. So before we can talk about how to get all the motivation that we need to strengthen our clubs, because we're so passionate about that, right? We really need to focus on actually defining what that is. So I Googled, in the Google machine, what are some definitions of motivation? And what I found a couple actually, but the definition of motivation is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, or the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. Okay, so you have different types of motivation. The most popular types being intrinsic and extrinsic. So for example, because I love examples and talking about our exercising theme that we have going on. So I try to exercise 3 to 4 times a week, because that's best practices. I really love walking, so that's an easy way for me to exercise. I think class is a lot of fun, and the overall process and purpose of being healthy is really what would be considered all of my intrinsic motivations, right? However, I also exercise 3 to 4 times a week because I'm getting married in October and I really want to look great in this big white wedding dress that I'm supposed to be wearing. So that is an extrinsic motivation for myself. So there's a little bit of difference between intrinsic and extrinsic. And then we have what I assume would be really familiar to many of you is this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So on the screen, you can see this chart. The little bit of science that comes with motivation, talking about the human nature, right? So as humans, some of our motives are biological and some have personal or maybe even social origins. So again, another example, we have probably all heard of this chart that I have on the screen. And at the bottom, you can see our physiological needs. Okay, so our basic needs come first. We don't need a lot of motivation to eat food, to want to drink water, to get rest. Like those are the things that our body needs to survive, right? That's really our human nature. After that, you can see that we have needs for wanting relationships, for feeling accomplishment, and then even self-fulfillment. And then our motivations change to want those things more in life because, again, as humans, we don't want the same things over and over and over again. Typically, we really crave change, and we want that change in some way, shape, or form. So starting at the bottom, we don't need a lot of motivation for food, but maybe when it comes to the self-actualization part, we might need a little boost. So over the past few years, I have asked the people that I've worked with all across the world and across specifically the country, I've asked the people that I've come in contact with, hey, what is your motivation to volunteer with Kiwanis? Like, where does that come from? And I've kept all the answers in a little notebook, this little notebook right here. And I have found so many wonderful things, and I thought I would share some of them with you. You'll find a lot of them on the screen, but really what I found is I've heard several people say they want to contribute in a cause in which they believe in. They might want to learn a new skill. They want to have some type of ownership over something that they can actually fix. They want to have fun. They want to meet new people. Some have even shared with me that they're motivated for Kiwanis because an organization that they were already a part of is affiliated, and so they wanted to participate that way. And then simply they enjoyed the type of work that's being done. So most of these answers are motivations, again, that tie back to emotions, okay? They go back to many of our human needs. So back to that chart that I just showed, our needs for relationships and achievements, these are hand tied to the motivations that these members have shared with me. So how do we take these emotions and really harvest them to help accomplish the goal of strengthening our clubs? Well, I'm really glad you asked, because there's a whole process that we're about to get into. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to kick us back on this, the process of club strengthening.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Emily. And when we get to some of those fabulous quotes and images on the screen, I'm going to ask you to share and read those on the screen for us. Okay, Emily?
You got it.
So what's the process? So let's talk about that a little bit here. So first of all, the process is unique to each club. There's not a one-size-fits-all model to club coaching. But traditionally, it begins with a club assessment. That includes an assessment that's done by the members, and it also includes a community needs analysis. So that gives us a good baseline to see what are some of the issues that are going on in a club that are preventing it from reaching its full potential. Where does it need to exercise? Just like when we go to the gym and we have a personal fitness trainer, they're going to help us identify what our strengths and weaknesses are and help us improve in those areas where we want to improve, right? So we begin with an assessment, just like you would with a fitness trainer. So from that, we create a strategic plan. Now, Kiwanis International has given us great guidance on this. There are plenty of documents and strategic plan templates out there, but a club coach would help through this process. You could ask your lieutenant governor or somebody else that's gone through this process before to help out. But essentially, a strategic plan really helps a club create SMART goals. So while goals are important, just having a goal rarely leads to success, though. You need to really have SMART goals. And what those are, they are specific, they're measurable, achievable, realistic, and they are time-bound, time-oriented. So that really creates an action plan. There needs to be a goal for each action plan. And that action plan needs to tell who will do what, when it will be done, where it will be done, and the resources that are needed to do it. Then we seek guidance and input from our engaging our members and those that will help execute the plan. And then we go on to the implementation phase. Wash, rinse, and repeat when that's done. If it's had positive improvements, then we circle back and we start the process over again. If it's had negative improvements, we still start the process over again. And really, it's just a continual process. So Emily, read that next slide for us.
Y'all, it's a process, it's a process, it's a process. Change takes time. It's not always easy, but I promise you, if you follow the process, you'll be good.
Awesome. So what does a strong Kiwanis Club look like? Okay. And feel free to put in the comment box here what you also think a strong Kiwanis Club looks like. This is a little bit of the engagement part, so go ahead and type in the chat there too. If any of these you agree with, disagree with, or if you have something else completely, what does a strong Kiwanis Club look like to you? We'll see if we get a couple coming in here.
Oh, I put the answers up too early. I'll be mindful of that for the
You
next
did. Okay. That's all right. Well, so we'll start here though. I mean, a strong Kiwanis Club really reflects its community. And that's not just in diversity, and diversity is a big component of it, but it really reflects the values of the community, the makeup of the community, age demographics, cultural demographics, etc. It also really meets the community needs. There's nothing worse than a Kiwanis Club that is completely out of touch with what's going on in the community. Yeah, Gayla shares with us taking care of each other in the community. Yeah, absolutely. So meeting the community needs is highly important for a Kiwanis Club. We also really need to think about how a strong Kiwanis Club meets its member needs. Member needs are just as vast and varied as community needs can be. A lot of people join Kiwanis for the service. Some people join it for the fellowship and the fun and the travel and meeting new people, leadership development. There's a whole host of reasons. And it takes good leadership in the club to periodically check in with people and see, are your needs being met? Do you have the opportunities to do what you want to do and gain what you want to gain out of your Kiwanis experience? Now, a strong club really also balances these things. It balances fundraising, hands-on service, and social activities. It's like going to the gym. I mean, you don't go and you don't just work out on one thing at the gym, right, Emily?
Exactly. I wish.
Yeah, right. I mean, what fun would that be anyway? So you got to work on everything, and you do it a little bit at a time, a little bit here and there. But you have a good fitness plan, and you have a good balance in what you're doing. So there's another one from Patricia. Communication. Communication absolutely is essential to having a strong Kiwanis Club, and that doesn't come just from the club leaders. I mean, certainly they're most responsible for communication, but it comes from members too. I mean, members need to be able to have an atmosphere where they can speak up and have their voice heard, no matter how new they are to the club or how long they might have been there for 50 days or 50 years. They need to be valued and be able to speak up. So members have that responsibility, though, to speak up and to get their hands dirty and active with whatever they want to. I think it's horrible when somebody leaves Kiwanis and they say that, well, I didn't have a good membership experience. And yet those are the people that never come to meetings, never come to service projects. They don't participate. So that's definitely a good thing and key to having the member needs met is communication. And then lastly, continuously recruiting. We know this all, and this is a component of club strengthening. Having an active membership committee is something that every club needs. That's your dedicated group that's focused on strengthening the club. They are members that develop the plans and they carry it out. So prepare your club to be inviting to new members. I mean, why do you love your club? What makes it a group that others want to join? And then are the improvements that you're making, can they be even better going forward? So, all right, Emily, read that next quote for us.
All right. Nothing will work unless you do, right? I need to have some of these printed out and displayed on my screen. That's a good one.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a personal responsibility too. I mean, we're not gonna find improvement in strength unless we're putting in the work, right? You don't get to go to the gym and look at the weights and grow muscles, right? You know, so nothing works unless you do. All right, so we're going to share on these next couple of slides. Here's your warning. The following slides contain some great ideas. They are ideas that can be implemented by any size club and at any time. And I will, full disclaimer, these are mostly borrowed and cultivated from other Kiwanians. So that's one of the great assets of our organization is the idea sharing. So let's first talk about best practices for fundraising, okay? Primarily, what are you raising funds for in your club, right? A lot of clubs just say, okay, let's go raise some funds and then we'll figure out how to give it away. People are more inclined to give to a specific program or cause. And then the next thing you need to do is set a goal method for your fundraiser. Figure out how you're going to raise those funds, right? Really important is showcasing the need. Here's a couple of stats for you. 57% of people who watch a nonprofit video make a donation, right? Today's donors want to know that their contributions are making a difference. Millennials and Generation Z are especially motivated by a sense of social responsibility. They want to be a part of the change-making process. Additionally, know these statistics. Here we go. We're going to throw them up on the board here. Both men and women, they're a little hard to read maybe, but both men and women prefer to donate using plastic. Does your club accept credit cards and debit cards? Easy way to get funds coming in. Next one, the silent generation from 1928 to 1944 is by far the most generous donation out there. Generous generation. That's a tongue twister. I got on that one.
You got it.
The average online donation among Americans is $128. That's pretty significant, right? 80% of donors said that a gift wouldn't motivate them to donate money, which is really interesting because a lot of times we put these offers out there, you know, we'll sell you something or we'll give you a gift with purchase for our fundraiser. A lot of times people just want to know that their money is going to something good. 30% of all annual donations in America come just in the month of December, right? Are you really focusing a lot of your fundraising efforts in that prime giving period? And then lastly, 64% of all US donations come from women. How is your club and your fundraiser specifically targeting women to donate to your causes? So let's go next to a couple of ideas for virtual fundraising, okay? So here's some ideas for thinking outside the box a little bit. These are some COVID era ideas essentially, but certainly nothing's off limits for going forward as we continue to open things up. So we'll just run them across the board. Go ahead and keep throwing them up there. And I'm just going to mention a couple on here that I've done personally. The product sales, super easy. I use a company called Bonfire. I've used Printful, used local vendors. Certainly if it's Kiwanis branded or has logo on it, it goes through a licensed vendor. But right now, my home club is running for the second year apparel for the pantries. We set this up and launched it just a few days ago. And it's an online sale that Bonfire hosts for us. And people in our community can buy a piece of clothing that we have designed, and a percentage of their purchase goes to our club, and then we're going to in turn split it between a couple of food pantries in town. Other than marketing and promoting the fundraiser and coming up with the design, we don't have anything to do with the delivery and the fulfillment. We did this last year and raised $1,200 in about 3 weeks of online sales. So super easy fundraiser. Some other ones that are really popular right now, educational classes are really fun. You can do those for adults and for kids. At-home project kits are also fun things to do. Roundup programs at convenience stores or supermarkets are also good if your community is willing to participate in that. Emily, any of those pop out at you that you've been involved with or want to mention?
Yeah, I think donations to different groups have really been crucial to these communities. And I think I have seen a lot of, with all of these fundraising ideas, what I have seen across the board is the opportunity to get our youth programs involved with that and to do some type of joint shared fundraising activity. So I think that is a trend that we need to continue to pick up on and start utilizing all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, SLPs are a great way to tie in. And also, don't be afraid to partner with other community organizations. Pick up the phone and call your Rotary and Lions Club and partner with them on a fundraiser, because they're just as eager to get out there and have some funds going to another cause as you are. So that's a great way for us to partner. Oh, we got a question in there from Bob. What's a mystery meal? I'm glad you asked that. So a mystery meal is you partner with a couple of local, you could just be one, could be a couple local restaurants, and you promote it online for people to buy a meal, sort of like Uber Eats or Grubhub. And the thing is, they don't know what the meal is necessarily or what they're going to get. There are some parameters, of course, dietary restrictions, etc. But basically, you partner with the restaurant. You say, okay, we want 20 of XYZ because we've got 20 people that bought meals, and we're going to go and deliver these meals. It's a great way to get your Kiwanians out there doing some service. So they pick up the meals at the restaurant and they go and deliver it. So the family or whoever's buying the meal, whatever, it could be a $10 meal, it could be a $50 family meal, whatever it might be. But they're getting a surprise, and it helps support a local business too. So it's really a fun thing to do. I'm trying to get that going in my community here, but I haven't yet. But I have heard of others that have had success with it. So Emily, go ahead and read that next motivational quote there for us.
All right, y'all. So no matter how slow you go, you are still lapping everybody on the couch. That's so real because you guys are obviously the dedicated leaders within your district and within your communities. You know why? Because you're here. You are here. You are participating. So you are definitely already leaping those that are on the couch, even if some of you physically are on your couch right now, which is great.
That's right. Absolutely. You can always strengthen your mind, even if you're sitting on the couch, right? So, all right. So let's talk about some best practices for meetings real quick. First of all, have a plan. Nothing worse than going into a meeting and not knowing what's going on or having any, you can click the next one, and not knowing what's going on or who's doing what, right? Particularly in today's day and age, know your tech. If you're using an online program to run your meetings, take the time to invest in learning the platform inside and out, right? Know how to set up the meeting, invite others, admit people into the room, share the hosting, record it, mute people if you need to sometimes, how to spotlight a speaker, share your screen, all those wonderful things that we're learning on Zoom, right? Take a half hour, an hour, and learn how to do it. It'll make your member experience so much better. And for the guests that you invite to your meeting or your speakers that come, it'll make it look really professional, like you know what you're doing, right? Welcome visitors. This is really important. So even if it's online, greet new visitors at the first part of the meeting, right? Introduce them to the club. And then don't forget in a couple of weeks to follow up with that prospective member's visit, right? Send them a follow-up letter or postcard, even if they don't come back immediately, right? So sometimes it takes a few times to get people to come back, right? So staying young is also another fun thing to do. If any of your clubs do this, it's great. I know one of my clubs is super involved and active with getting kids to come to our meetings because we have young families that have young kids. So we make sure that we have activities for the kids to do while the parents meet and take care of the Kiwanis business. And then it's also a good opportunity for Kiwanians that don't have young ones to interact and play with them too. So it can, even if there aren't little kids or any age kids really, SLP are also great to keep around and have at your meetings. But show something, show some pictures or video. There's lots of great resources and tools on the kiwanis.org/brand where you can get a lot of the videos that really help remind our members why they got into Kiwanis, right? And who we're really helping out at the end of the day. And then lastly, don't forget the fun, right? It's great to go in and put in that work at the gym, right? But Emily, isn't it sure fun to go get a beer afterwards?
Cheers.
Exactly, right? So make sure that you're taking the time to do some social activities. It could be, card games, online bingo, scavenger hunts at home, just lots of things. Try to keep it fun too for your members. So, Let's go into best practices for recruiting, which is a really essential element to club strengthening, right? Because we all know that more hands means more service and more fun and more fellowship and more friends. And who wouldn't want that, right? So first of all, know your why. Have your Kiwanis why at the ready. Why did you join Kiwanis? Why have you stayed in Kiwanis? And be ready to share that personal story with other people. And then practice asking questions, okay? Keep it conversational, but ask personal questions of people that you're, bringing Kiwanis up to, right? What are you passionate about? What type of volunteer service do you currently do? Do you know what the needs are of our community? Or how do you like to give back or get involved? Use those answers to craft your response using your abbreviated Kiwanis why, and then be timely and respectful of people. Provide a call to action. So come to a meeting, check out a website, give them a card or a flyer, join you in a service project, etc. The next step is to really make it personal, right? Send a letter of invitation to every prospective member who has been invited to join. Each month, compose a prospect list of names and addresses, and then share that list with current members, asking them to contact people on the list. So that's getting other people involved in this. Really a personal invitation to come and join a Kiwanis club can really go a long way. I don't know very many people that are in Kiwanis that haven't been personally invited or asked by somebody. And then lastly, we want to make it friendly and competitive. That's a really great idea by hosting a membership contest, because it really gives people an excuse to ask others to come and join Kiwanis. If you get your club excited and they ask people to join, you're going to grow your club. So have a defined membership program for this. You can include points, awards, prizes. It could be for guests, number of prospects, people to join. The world's the limit on this. But keep the Kiwanis mission at focus with it too. So, and then I think we can, and then one other thing I wanted to add is not going to be on the slide. But I found this in a book recently, or it's a study that makes a distinction between old volunteering and new volunteering. And I wanted to make a point on this because this author, Walter Rayberg, I'm just going to read this verbatim. It says he argues that old volunteering was based on a connection to religious or political communities and was motivated by a sense of membership, altruism, and concern for the collective good. In new volunteering, volunteers are not particularly loyal to an organization. They tend to be choosy about what they do, and they expect some personal benefit from their volunteer experience. So those are really some key things. It's a shift in a social shift in how people joined Kiwanis in days gone by, and maybe how they're joining Kiwanis now. So keep that in mind when you're recruiting and who you're recruiting, because they're going to join for different reasons. It could be more personal. It could be more. Could be a little selfless or selfish. But just keep those things in mind. So let's go to the next slide, please. We're going to throw up a couple of quick stats here for you. 25% of all American adults volunteer. It's a great big audience for us, right? 75 million Americans, more than that probably. Do a roster analysis that will help you define your target groups. If you're weighted really heavily in one area, you might want to try recruiting specifically in another area, like young professionals, or it could be baby boomers, whatever you want. So young professionals, Gen Y, the workhorses are kind of the Gen X generation. Our wealthiest generation, of course, are the baby boomers. And then, of course, as we said earlier, the most generous is the silent generation. Also, don't forget to target recruitment to your SLP and their family as well. Reaching out. So first of all, in your community, you need to know where to find people. That's being visible, right? Set up at a farmer's market, a craft fair, provide an activity for the kids that kind of doubles as exposure to their adults that you'd think might be a good fit for your club. So you can also go old school with flyers, mailers, door hangers, Network through the community too, through your Chamber of Commerce or other networking organizations. They're great places to not only find speakers, sponsors for your events, but they're great places to find members. And then if your community doesn't have one of those groups or events, host one, create one. I've joined friend working events that have been hosted in my town. So you just create friends. So those are some ideas, but have something worth sharing, of course. It's nothing worse than reaching out to try to, provide somebody with an ask, and not have something specific, right? So ask them to join your club, be direct. And then a no likely means not now, right? I mean, we all know that we might not have joined Kiwanis initially at the first ask because of things going on in our lives, but it usually is a not now. So keep in touch with those people too. So, all right, Emily, another great quote coming up here. Go ahead and read it to us.
Absolutely. So strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't do. Isn't
that the truth, right?
Good stuff.
Absolutely. So let's go to virtual service real quick. We're going to talk about a few things here. First of all, in virtual service, three main components here. So ensure that there's interest, right? Make sure that your members are interested in doing the service before you go through the effort of setting it up. Check in frequently, right? Know what your members are doing and see if they need support from others in the club. A little encouragement, much like that from a strengthening trainer, can really go a long way. And then lastly, how will you measure and share impact, right? So this is the metric part of that strategic plan. Is it the hours? Is it the number of people served? Is it dollars raised, et cetera? And that really gives you a quantifiable way to go back to your community and say, hey, we did X, Y, Z, right? This is the impact that we had in our community. And Kiwanis International sets a great precedent for that because we know that there are millions of hours and dollars, given and served each year by Kiwanis family members. So traditional
example about that,
go right ahead.
Jim, is there was a club that I was working with and they were like, Emily, our impact isn't that big. We only give every year we give out a $2,000 scholarship. And I was like, you know what? After 10, 20, so many years, how many dollars does that add up to? It adds up to a lot. And so what impact you're making right now really does make a difference in the big scheme of things, even if it doesn't seem like much right now. So definitely take that and share it because that really is a best practice because people are going to want to participate with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just learned one of those today. The Kiwanis Club of Lakewood, Ohio is having their centennial celebration coming up next month. And they reported on their website that since 1955, they've given away $2.5 million in scholarships.
Wow.
Right?
Wow,
It's incredible.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. So let's talk about some of these virtual service things on the next slide, right? So these are some virtual service projects, very safe for people. A lot of these things you can find online. I use a couple of different websites. Catch a Fire is one of them. Great way to network with nonprofits around the world, really, that need some help with things. Just going down the list there, data entry, creative professional skills, mask making is a great thing to be doing, and knitting. There's public cleanup and beautifications, the home kits that we talked about earlier. I mean, that can be part service, part fundraiser in the community. Gathering safety supplies, PPE equipment and whatnot for anybody really. There's a couple of other good ones there. The Story Time pairs seniors and kids to read virtually online. Points of Light has an extensive list of virtual volunteering inspiration. And then there's the Sages and Seekers programs that some communities have and some don't. And that really pairs older adults through like a 8-week program with high school students to provide mentorship. So in any of those things, if you can't find it, what do? We go out and we create it. Yeah, Google it or create it. Yeah, get some help. All right, one more motivational slide. Let's go. We're almost to the finish line.
Okay, y'all, you have to be at your strongest when you're feeling your weakest. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's really where the the building comes in, isn't it, Emily? I mean, when you're on that last rep and you're exhausted and you just feel that you can't do another rep, and your personal trainer's there just pushing you on, and you do one more, and that's where you're building the strength, right? It's after the exhaustion that you're really building the strength. So let's talk about a few membership engagement best practices here. So first, promote camaraderie. Are you emailing your club directory to your members at least every 6 months, or as soon as a new member joins the club, right? They need to know who's joining and how to get in touch with them and greet them. They must be able to communicate with each other outside of the club meetings. Next one, foster social activities. Happy hours, bingo nights, member profiles could be written or presented. One of my clubs, we found this from another club too. We started doing member profiles on our social media, and that started getting interest in the community. Really roll out that red carpet for new members, right? I mean, we want to really make a meaningful induction ceremony, even if it's virtual. I mean, mail or drop off their pin and their certificate so that they can show it on screen. Feature them in the newsletter, the website, your social media. Get them involved to lead a project if they desire, get on a committee right away, and then really permit them time to tell their story, right? The way that we build friendships is by learning from one another, and hearing from one another. So let's give our new members really the red carpet to do as they can and wish to share what they wish about themselves with the new club. Showing you care, absolutely, right? So send a "we miss you" card to people that have been on vacation or are sick. No matter why they've been absent, just tell them that they've been missed, right? I know it's easy to overlook those things. So, and then lastly, communicate often and in many formats, right? We talked about communication earlier. So at least quarterly, have a club newsletter that's emailed or mailed out to members of your club and other people in the community too, your supporters and your sponsors, community leaders. Let them know what's going on, and especially your donors, right? So if you have a list of your donors, people that support your fundraising projects, make sure they're on that newsletter list. And then send weekly emails to remind members of the programs, the special projects, the fundraisers, the needs, et cetera, going on in the club. So, and we've got one more slide here on community engagement. So show appreciation, sending thank you notes for donations, no matter how small they are, goes a long way. Include a picture of your fundraiser or the project that person was a part of, right? Particularly any news clippings if it made the newspaper or social media. It's easy to be impressive to prospective members. So brag on your team of volunteers every chance you get. Next one is communication plan, right? So having that plan in place of who's going to lead your public relations, which encompasses sending press releases, engaging the local media, managing your newsletter, your Facebook, your website. Really embrace technology and social media apps beyond Facebook. There's Nextdoor, there's Meetup, Instagram, Snapchat. Find ways to be innovative and engaging those audiences that you want to reach, right? I mean, Facebook is still the platform of choice for most users, but younger generations really are not even signing up on Facebook or have shifted away already. I mean, TikTok absolutely is the platform of choice for Gen Z right now. And it's not just about dancing. I mean, it's, show a 30-second clip of your fundraiser on there, right? If somebody's doing a dunk tank challenge or whatever, show something fun and active. Show the positive sides of what you're doing. So the next part of this is some social media users by age, which is a little graphic here at the bottom. That's kind of interesting. 90% of social media users are aged 18 to 29, right? And then it kind of goes down from there. So think about the people that you're trying to reach and then what methods you want to use to reach them. So, all right, we got one more quote. We might have a few more quotes. Go ahead and do that next one, Em.
The difference between wanting and achieving is discipline. And again, y'all are the ones that are going to make it happen, but you can't do it alone. You have to get everyone else on board to help make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing a new workout regimen this month, and by day 7, I mean, I was like, making some excuses, and I need to put in the work, and that's the discipline part of it, right? So you don't just get the ball rolling and expect it to keep rolling. So we gotta have that discipline part. So how can we give you guys some help here? So here's some resources to get going. Em, you want to talk about these?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the ACE tools. Everyone probably knows in Kiwanis, we love some good acronyms. So ACE stands for Achieving Club Excellence. If you just Google Kiwanis ACE tools, you will find it and it will come up. It's a website that has all different kinds of resources that can help you with, you want to do a new service project, here's how to do that. Here's how to determine what the different service projects that we might want to do, or here's the types of members we want to recruit. It has a roster analysis. So really good tools there. Club coaching, obviously. You should have a club coach. If you don't, you need to talk to Dennis and Bob and Daryl and Jim about that, and all the people that are on the screen, because we can help make that happen for you. And also club coaching is one of those things that you're not just one and done. It is something that is something that should be continuous, right, Jim? You know all about club coaching.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the personal trainer, right? I mean, you go to that person and they help give you some guidance and pointers and tips and connect you to ideas and resources. And it's not a lifetime commitment. It can help you get from point A to point B. And then maybe you find somebody else to help you with another part of your training experience. So we have a whole new club coaching program that's out there. If you feel that you could provide some assistance and support to other clubs, let us know and we can get you trained to be a club coach. And you can do that virtually as well. So that doesn't have to be that you're coaching a club or being coached by or have your club being coached by somebody that's local to you. It could be somebody from, outside of your geographic area. So, and then we also have a couple of other resources here too.
Absolutely. So you have a bunch of people within your district that are willing to help you. A lot of those people are on this call right now. So I would encourage you to work with your club presidents, work with your lieutenant governors, work with those aspiring leaders that might want to, or that have potential. They will be really good to help you. But specifically, when it comes to club coaching, you have Jim, you have myself. We are always just a simple call away. We're happy to help you with whatever we can, and some other district people as well.
Yeah, and then lastly, I mean, there's professional support, right? So, I mean, as much as we think we know it all, there's so many people out there that know so much more. So there are things like mobilecause.com, volunteermatch.com. They're just plenty.
Did we lose Jim?
Ideas and resources out there. Simple Google or other nonprofit leaders in your community. Yeah.
I thought we lost you, but I think we got you back.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's wrap it up, shall we? We got one more last quote, I promise.
Last quote. When you feel like quitting, think about why you started. Why did y'all start? Do you know the answer to that question? Think about it for a second.
And
well, you're still here, so we're glad
too. That's right. So, well, that's our show, everybody. We hope you learned something, and we're going to be around to answer some questions for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was awesome. So many ideas in one presentation. That was phenomenal. And we do have some questions that have come in for you. So the first one was more of a comment. You both play off each other so well. This has been a great session. So
thank you.
Good.
Want to echo that too. I think this is something you mentioned early on, Jim. What resources does Kiwanis have for strategic planning?
So I don't know the specific URL off the top of my mind, but there is a template for creating strategic plans for a club. And it was originally called the I plan, investment, image, inspiration, and what's the fourth one? Impact. And so it's kind of built off those four tenets. And I think it's been redesigned a little bit, but it's a great tool. Just do a quick search on the website for strategic plan.
I bet Elise will put it.
Or at least just put it in the box there too. There we go.
Excellent, thank you. Next question from Bob Wiley, our membership co-chair. He mentioned that you both will be conducting a membership coach training on Monday, April 12th. And he was wondering if you could pitch that and share a little bit more information about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we are really excited. Like Jim mentioned earlier, he was a part of a committee that helped create the new club coaching training. So if you are interested in being a club coach, you need to talk to Bob and Daryl so that we can make sure that you have those that link to the sessions that we're going to be doing. And we are going to walk you through what it's like to be a club coach for a new club and what it's like to be a club coach for an existing club. Jim, do you want to have anything to add about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be about a 90-minute investment of your time. And, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things along that gamut, maybe do a little bit of role playing and exercises in that program too, to really see what, your knowledge and strengths are and how you can help out a club either locally or across the world.
Yeah, it's going to be interactive. It's going to be great. Come ready to chat.
Awesome. And I see Elise already dropped it in. Bob did ask that if you are planning to attend, to send him an email. You can see that in the chat, and you can reach out to him directly at membership@newenglandkiwanis.org, just so he has an idea of how many are going to be attending from our district. Okay, next question. What tips do you have for making clubs more welcoming?
That's a great question. Emily, do you want to start or shall I?
Y'all, I have so many thoughts about this one. I think we can definitely, spend a whole 90 minutes on this topic as well. But the first thing is you have to acknowledge the people that walk into the room. If you don't know someone, say, hi, I'm Emily. Or, hey, have you met my friend Jim? And simply start by saying hello, because it is super awkward to walk into a place when you don't know someone. So just be welcoming, and get everybody else on that board. I know traditions, as someone who loves traditions, it is hard to, the stereotypes of giving up your seat or always having the meeting start at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday for breakfast. But let me tell you, this might shock you, but it won't kill you if you have a 9 a.m. meeting on a Wednesday. So what if you changed it up? What would happen? Go from there. That will really open the world. The world is your oyster in terms of that when it comes to welcoming new people who might not be able to come at certain times if you just changed up the time, just as an example. Jim, what else?
Yeah, I would just really add that I think that the most important part of being a welcoming club is attitude. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing worse than walking into that room and it being a very dull and drab. And like you said, Emily, nobody greets you or says hi. There's no smiles. There's, no laughter or joy to it. Who wants to be a part of that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really the way to be a welcoming club in a physical sense, right? So, I mean, how do we do that in a virtual sense too, though, is another, spin-off of that. So, I mean, take that time at the beginning of the meeting to welcome your guests, like we talked about, and have them share about themselves if they wish. Have that opportunity for them to engage other members and learn about who else is in the room, even if it's a virtual Zoom room.
Oh, something fun virtually I saw the other day. Super simple to do, but they asked questions of people that they had wanted to have asked for a long time. So there's this one member, and she had a beautiful piece of artwork in her background. And one of the club members said, "Hey, I've been wanting to ask you about that piece of art for 4 weeks now. Can you tell me about that?" And it really opened up the conversation. It was fun and it was easy to do virtually. So just by people's backgrounds, you'll learn a lot about them. So something to think about.
Yeah. And something else that we should learn from our SLP, especially our Key Club and Circle K, it was one of the best parts of my Key Club experience for 4 years. Every meeting we opened with an icebreaker, right? And it was some type of fun, interactive way to get to know other people. The icebreakers they made you get out of your comfort zone and they made you learn something about somebody else. So talk to some Key Clubbers and get some ideas for icebreakers.
As a fellow Key Club alum, I completely agree. They've got awesome ideas for icebreakers, and it's a really good way to break up your meetings a little bit.
That might be another topic for one of your meetings coming up here, Brian.
There you go. We'll focus all on icebreakers.
There you go. I love it. I'm there.
Well, you both kind of touched on something. I'm jumping around on some of the questions. One that we came in a little bit more recently, are clubs actually recruiting new members when we aren't meeting in person? And I'm sure you both have a lot to say with this question in particular.
Oh yeah, y'all, let me tell you, clubs are opening, like new clubs are opening left and right, especially virtually. If people are telling you that's not happening, then that's a lie. And I think people are wanting to join into clubs that are already established even more so, because people are craving opportunities to get involved right now. Maybe a little bit less now at this particular day and time than we were maybe this time last year, but people have a lot more time on their hands and they are wanting stuff to do with that time. So they want to get involved, and they are seeing the difference that Kiwanis clubs are making in their communities right now. So with food pantries, with clothing drives, with fundraisers, with backpacks, all the things. And so they are wanting to do something, and they are looking for something to join. So help, like, why not join you? Do you have a reason why they shouldn't join you? No. So ask them. Yeah, people are joining left and right.
Yeah, I mean, our membership numbers are up in Region 1, which we just got the report today, which is great. And a lot of that is, people are inviting guests to their Zoom meetings, having good speakers, having a good experience online. And then, if you've got a prospect that's coming, make sure you have somebody that takes the time to do a one-on-one with them, right? Just like you would go and sit and have coffee at a coffee shop and talk to them about Kiwanis, you can do that on a Zoom chat for 15 or 30 minutes and find out what appeals them. What do they need to get out of a membership experience? I've personally recruited several people throughout the pandemic just with that method to join clubs. So it's doable. It's happening.
Yeah. The one thing I will add real quick is I know the trend that we are seeing right now is single emphasis clubs. So for example, clubs that are solely focused on ending hunger in their community, or book literacy, like a single focus club on literacy. I know that the Capital District just opened a club on former SLP members. So that might be something you are thinking about, but what single emphasis in your community might be relevant, something to think about too.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say that a traditional existing club can't make that pivot to a single emphasis club too. If that's what their community needs analysis says, that, hunger is that thing in our community that we really need to focus and tackle on, great. Be that breadwinner of that champion of that cause in your community.
And I'll talk about more in just a moment, but if you are looking to recruit members, make sure you join us in a couple of weeks. I think it's April 21st for our webinar that night, all about the district's incentives and initiatives to recruit new members. And we'll tell you about a lot of the different programs that New England and Bermuda has going on right now. Well, I'm sorry that we can't get to all the questions. I'm going to end with one that I think will be a really good place to leave it. Emily, I think this one came in at the beginning, so it probably has to do with that notebook you talked about. And then Jim, you also talked about having your why ready. So this one was, what are your reasons for joining Kiwanis?
I'll start. My reason is because someone asked me to. I was like, sure, okay, I'll join. I like to do service. And it was as easy as that. And it is something that it wasn't a hard sell for me, because I enjoyed the things that we were doing, and I have recruited people to come join with me. So that's my why. I like making a difference, and I like socializing.
Yeah, those are fun things for sure. My Kiwanis why is I was a 14-year-old who moved from South Florida to Cleveland, Ohio, my first day of high school, brand new school of 2,200 kids. And somebody asked me to come to a Key Club meeting, right? So 4 years of that really ingrained in me selfless service, leadership development, and really created that pay it forward, inspiration. And so when I was a senior, I was a Key Club lieutenant governor, and my Kiwanis lieutenant governor asked me to join his Kiwanis Club. because the college I was going to didn't have a Circle K, and I was staying, in the community, and so I was asked to join Kiwanis, and I did, so that I could pay it forward, and I helped start a Key Club at another high school shortly after that, and I've been involved on and off with Kiwanis for 20 plus years now. So that's my why, is to really pay it forward to the next generation.
I think that's the perfect place to leave it. Thank you so much, Jim and Emily. I hope everyone at home, give them a round of applause for being with us here tonight. That was such a useful session, and I'm sure everybody is leaving with some new ideas to take back to their clubs. So before we move to our closing announcements, I just want to quickly note that we have some very special guests with us tonight, and I hope they will wave to the camera so everybody can see them. We're lucky that we have both Governor Dennis Murphy and Governor-elect Gayla Bartlett here with us tonight. So if they'll wave to us, many of you already know them, but it's nice that we have both the governor and the governor-elect on for tonight's workshop. And then also we have two Kiwanis International trustees from the International Board who are on with us. We of course have George Delisle from right here in New England and Bermuda in Massachusetts. And then I believe she just had to step off, but we had Kathy Szymanski from Pennsylvania. So thank you both for joining us tonight. It's nice to have so many people with us, especially so many people from around the Kiwanis world. So as we wrap up, please remember, if you have not already, please type your name and your club in the chat so that David can take attendance tonight and we can post what clubs are represented. All right, so if you haven't already heard, a special note for club secretaries. It is the season for annual meetings, and all Kiwanis clubs must have their annual meeting by May 15th to elect their officers to take office on October 1st. One of the most important tools that Kiwanis provides for new officers is the Kiwanis Leadership Guide. And those are available digitally, but we are also taking orders if you would like to request free printed copies of the Leadership Guide for this year. So Elise just dropped into the chat our order form for those guides. Club secretaries, please find out how many of your incoming club officers will need printed copies, and our district will order them from International and ship them in one package to your club. Secretaries and presidents received this by email, and we also put this up on Facebook, and now you have the link in the chat. So please make sure your club secretary gets that link. Only the clubs who request them through there will get the printed copies this year. We have some really great sessions that are coming up for you for the rest of April. And I'm going to ask Elise if she can pull up her screen, and we will tell you a little bit more about our next 3 workshops. So as you know, we just wrapped up There Is No Strength Without Struggle, which means that next week, April 14th, we will have LGBTQ and U, creating safe and positive environments for LGBTQ youth in our service leadership programs. This session is going to feature Sean Smith from the Pennsylvania district, and Sean will provide a baseline understanding of the current gender terminology, an overview of the gay rights movement, and how to interact with students and fellow club members who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer. So I hope you'll join us for that. That is next week, April 14th. And then the week after, on April 21st, is the session I mentioned just a few minutes ago. The district right now has several initiatives to encourage clubs to recruit new members this year. And so on the 21st, we will have membership committee co-chair Bob Wiley and other district leaders to talk about these initiatives and how they work and how you can bring them to your club to support your current recruitment and retention programs. And then we'll wrap up the month on April 28th. We have Elizabeth Warren, who is the manager of corporate relations at Kiwanis International, and she'll be presenting a session all about our Kiwanis partnerships, opportunities that KI provides for both members and for clubs. And so it'll be a really good session that you don't want to miss. Please remember, sign up for these free workshops and make sure your fellow club members know about them too. You can share the registration link in the chat with them, and you can also go to our district Facebook page, Facebook group, and always newenglandkiwanis.org for more information. If you miss any of our sessions, most of them are recorded, and we have a playlist on our YouTube channel so that you can also share the recordings of the sessions with your fellow members. We are building out a resources section in Google Drive, which includes presentations from all of our past workshops. So Elise will drop the link in the chat, but if you ever need to access it handily, just go to one of your confirmation emails for our webinars, and you will find a link to Google Drive towards the bottom of the email. You'll see virtual workshop materials with a hyperlink. You can also find attendance lists in there if you want to see how many clubs were in attendance at a past workshop. I'd like to extend yet another big thank you to our District Education Committee, which includes Elise Denorfia, Judy Barrett, and David Griffin, who are helping behind the scenes every week to make sure these workshops are successful. So please join me in another round of applause for our Education Committee, who's helping us continue. We are now on week 17. We've been going since December, and we've got several more weeks of workshops lined up for you, and they're the ones who help make that happen. So with that, we are done for tonight. I want to thank again Jim Janosik and Emily Sharp for being our guest presenters tonight. I hope you all leave with a tip or an idea or something that you can bring back to your own club to help strengthen it for this year and for future years. We hope to see you next week. Again, our session is LGBTQ and you. In the meantime, I hope you'll stay safe, be well, and thank you all for being such dedicated Kiwanians. Have a great night.